Well, folks, we are in Beyonce's country now. I'm Charlie.
And I'm Cory.
And this week we are discussing the latest release from Beyoncé, Cowboy Carter, which is being marketed as her foray into country music, even though she has said this is not a country album, it's a Beyoncé album. Which, well, what else can we expect from Beyonce? Of course, it's going to be her doing her thing. And yeah, definitely already a heavily talked about album. One of the most anticipated of the year and discussed already, for sure.
Yeah, I sure was anticipating it. I've said this on here, but I'll say it again purely out of curiosity. And I'll be honest, I found myself inside those same trappings of being like, oh, Beyonce's doing a country album. And I was intrigued by that. But now after listening, I smack myself and say, this is just a Beyonce album. And so shame on me for being like, oh, it's going to be a country album. I guess I hope I make sense by saying that, but it was,
yeah.
In fact, maybe this is the mindset she was putting this album towards. And I'll get more onto that as we go through. But, why does it have to be a country album? That's why I say shame on me and smack myself in the face.
Yeah, and that is also, that's an automatic question just in the lead up to all of this. So,
Right.
for those who don't know, Beyonce was born and raised in Houston, Texas. She attended the rodeo frequently as a child, so she's not unfamiliar with country music at all. Just by being in that environment, she's familiar with it.
Yeah, man. I mean, not jumping ahead, but Rodeo Queen. Look at her.
Yeah,
oh man.
right on the album cover, she's a rodeo queen.
Yeah, we get to see the same horse, the same silhouette, except this time within a second you read Rodeo Queen. I mean, if you know what a rodeo queen looks like, but the pageantry is there, and I thought that was a cool way to do it, especially inside of this Renaissance Act 2. I thought that was a really cool way to show the album.
Yes. So again, I don't know why I didn't mention this already, but for those who don't know, Beyonce, upon the announcement of 2022's Excellent Renaissance, which we've already covered on this show, she said that that was Act One of a free act project that she conceived during the pandemic. And this is Act Two, but she's actually come out and said this was intended to be Act One. The reason it's Act Two was because it felt more appropriate to put Renaissance out as a response to the pandemic because she felt the world wanted to dance.
And it makes sense. I also think, and maybe I'm being not up to the times with how they can record here and there, even in COVID, but I would think with the sheer amount of talent that is on this album, the sheer amount of players, I think it would be almost impossible during those COVID times, or at least way more of a challenge than doing it now.
Yeah, most definitely. And it does seem like the appropriate time to release it. And it seems to be working for her so far, just based on all the discussion and the streams, which we'll get to in a second. Beyonce, not completely unfamiliar with country music. And she did at a country award show, I'm not remembering the name of it, but she did a country rendition of Irreplaceable with Sugarland back when that song was a hit.
All right.
Yes.
I love me some Jen Nettles. I love me some Sugarland, but
I mean,
got...
yeah, two very unique voices for sure, Beyonce and Jen Nettles. But Beyonce's first foray into country as a recording artist came in 2016 with the song Daddy Lessons on the Lemonade album. And it was immediately commented on the fact that Beyonce was doing a country song because it was not what was expected from her. But I mean, most critics really enjoyed the song, but there were some put off a bit by it, of course. Oh, so the award show that Beyonce performed with Sugarland at was the American Music Awards in 2007.
Heard that.
And Yes, so at the 50th CMA Awards, Beyonce performed Daddy Lessons with the Chicks, at the time known as the Dixie Chicks. And it was the highest rated performance of the telecast. It was the one that the most people viewed, but a lot of people were against it and felt that Beyonce didn't belong at a country awards show. And in her kind of press release on social media for the album, she said, like, Cowboy Carter is based on an experience where it was made very clear that I was not welcome. And it was pretty quickly uh, concluded that it was the CMA Awards in 2016. And it actually, the backlash was so intense that the CMA deleted all posts about her performance because people were
Wow.
so angry about it.
Woof. Shame on us as a people. Shame on
I
us as a people. We're celebrating music. I can, I had a mind opening experience with this album, and I'll get to that more. But even before this, I can appreciate doing different genre award ceremonies. But all in all, we are celebrating music. Shame on us as a people for reacting like that.
I completely agree, and it's just such a silly thing to focus the energy on at the end of the day. Of all the things we're going to get angry about, especially in 2016 up till now. There's all this stuff going on around us in the world. And that's what you're focusing your energy on. I no, I don't like that at all. But Beyonce decided to delve deeper into the history of country music and did her research and learned about its black roots. She's even says that she's learned that as many of 50% of cowboys were black.
Yeah.
So this music is actually black music, contrary to what many people seem to believe, and really what Nashville has put out. Because as we learn on this album, there are black country artists. Do we hear about them in the mainstream Nashville media? Not really. The ones that have become successful have had to do that without the help of the Nashville machine.
Yeah, I mean, the one that pops right into mind is oh man, I'm the worst with his name, Hootie. Uh
Darius Rucker.
Thank you, Darius Rucker. I mean, he worked hard and made a place, and it made a stink when it started. You know what I'm saying? But I feel like he's wholly accepted, which is nuts. It's nuts for us even to be saying this. Again, a shame on us as a people, but it's like, who the heck are we in any genre to be like, oh, I don't know if you're supposed to be here. That's ridiculous.
It
Regardless of skin color, just regard it's I've come to a wild place listening to this album.
I yeah. And that does bring up a question for me because I completely agree it's ridiculous to even think of excluding anybody based on race from any music genre or anything, period. That's
Yeah,
silliness. However, it's very clear with this context that Beyonce making this album is also making a loud statement.
yeah.
And while it's a statement, I completely agree with her point. It does beg the question of, is that statement going to override the music itself? That is a concern I had a bit coming into this album because it's such a clear point that we're making that will it override what the actual content of the album?
Ooh, that's a valid one. I didn't even think about that. As we tiptoe around this musical racism, it's so crazy that we're, tiptoeing around that. Um, that's a really valid question.
Yeah.
I guess we shall see.
Yes, we will see. We will see. But a lot of people are seeing already. So this album just debuted with over 76 million streams first day on Spotify, which is a huge number. And it will certainly debut at number one. and it's already been really heavily discussed and will continue to be discussed, I'm sure. Well, like Beyonce's albums, period, have continued to be discussed. Hers, they tend to stick around in the cultural consciousness because there's just so much going on with some of this stuff, and there's a lot going on here.
And they're good. They're good. That's why they stick around. They are, in most cases, master classes of what you want an album to accomplish inside of itself.
Yes, and that being said, let's also say up front, this is definitely a concept album. That's um
Yeah, yeah. I know you talked about it before. If anybody didn't know, but this is part of this concept, and for me, I think for us, that is part of our critical look into this. This is the second act in a 3-act concept trilogy here. So this is definitely concept.
yes. So with that being said, I'm ready to dive into all these songs because we technically, but not really, got 27 tracks to go through.
Yes,
That
we do.
some of them are interludes, but
Yes.
we're going to discuss all of them, whether we have a lot to say or not. We got to touch on all of it. Unlike the vinyl and CD editions of the album, which actually remove some songs. Shame on them for that, but
Hmm, really?
yeah, I'm glad I didn't pre-order this because I would be very angry if I had, and it wasn't a complete album. That's all I'm gonna say about that.
Like as far as trying to get it on one single vinyl instead of doing a double?
No, I'm
Or
sure it is a double, but I don't know quite what happened. But there are
hmm,
songs not on the physical editions, which,
wow.
yeah, I do not. That's not okay, actually, at
Oh,
all. If you paid for it and didn't know that ahead of time, but that's a different tangent.
yeah, not to get too far off, but I mean, even the track listing wasn't out till very close to the album. So how would you know?
Yeah, no, we did not. Yet, little by little, we got info about this album. And
All right.
so that did help create anticipation, though, and it was a bit more pleasantly surprising to hear some of what would be coming. And
Mm.
for me, at least,
I just got mad. Like I'm over here fuming actually about that. That's crazy. I want to know. I want
no,
to
I
know.
feel
Oh,
really bad for the fans who spent their money pre ordering this album and didn't even get the full album.
oof.
So shame on
Whoever.
whoever made that
Yeah.
decision.
If it's machine, just another reason to hate the machine. But
Yeah. Whoever it was, shame on you.
oh
But fortunately, we're not cutting any tracks here on Turntables and Tea. So let's get
yes.
started.
Let's get it.
So the album begins with American Requiem. American is spelled with two I's. We're going to see that a lot on this album. So this is an over 5 minute opening ballad. That is definitely a mission statement for this album. That I think is its sole purpose. Now, as a song itself, I think it's really cool. It's got a very epic feeling to it that is appropriate for something that's going to be based on Western culture. It's even been said that all of these songs are inspired by Western movies,
Yeah.
which is something I'm not an expert in Western films, so I don't know how qualified I am to say which movies inspired what. But
Yeah, I found the list of the movies that she said or that were quoted, but I didn't find anything of like this one is for this or this one is for this. And I didn't know all of them either.
no, that's yeah, I wish there was a song based on Blazing Saddles. I hope there is one actually secretly, but it's not this song. But this song, I definitely think it has a cinematic feeling to it. And she produced it with John Batiste and No ID, among others. The most startling line of this song is I'm not going to quote it exactly, but when she states it, they said I needed to talk less country, but now I'm not country enough. And that just shows, I think, how much that the being dismissed from the scene affected her. And I mean, that's so powerful and painful, but it's a really cool opener and song. It's not the first song I go back to over and over again on this album, but I do feel that it sets the tone and I appreciate its intention and scope.
Yeah, I'm with you. As far as us inside of a concept, here we are. We have the mission statement, in my opinion, of Act Two. And not only do we have the mission statement, but we have a requiem, a musical composition to honor the dead. And for me, the dead is really, it's a requiem, in my opinion, of the mindset or thought process of music that has been gatekeeping musicians slash people from doing exactly what they want to do, being inside of it and pushing people away. And I'm with you. That was such a powerful quote, the grand baby of a moonshine man. And then boom, they I used to speak to country and then I wasn't country enough. And letting you know that she's a country girl and was rejected for both sides of the coin. And this requiem is for that, I feel, and she's letting that go. She's paying an honor to the death of that mindset, and here we go into what she's bringing us. As far as I'm going to say this early, and I was going to use it as a poignant end piece to my criticism of this album, but I'd like to have conversations about it throughout. This, for me, is not a country album. It is an American album. And it really starts out here. And for the first musical piece of that, I got a lot of For What It's Worth, Stephen Stills. Stop. What's that sound?
Actually,
Everybody look what's going inside of this.
So, per Wikipedia, he's credited as a writer, but I think the writing
Good.
credits have been a bit wonky so far. Like it's coming out slowly but surely who's written what. I don't know if that's all available, but I definitely hear where that is coming from. And it doesn't seem like every sample is completely clear. But yes, he is listed as a writer on the song.
Nice. I didn't see that, and I was looking for it because I thought, me being crazy, and this early on, there's not super amounts of info just yet, but yeah, that we get that Americana inside of this too. What was hailed as a protest song back then, this has a bit of protest feeling in it as far as this rejection, and I love it. So Requiem for America, we say goodbye to that mindset and we move on. I think this is a really, really awesome mission statement for Act Two.
Yes, most definitely. And with that being said, I think it's a perfect time to move into track two, which is Blackbird with Two Eyes. I know you can't wait to talk about this one.
People might think that we've talked this through ahead of time, but neither of us have talked to each other about what we feel about this album. And if you've been listening for a long time, or right now, I'll tell you, I'm a huge Beatles fan, and this was, I looked at the track list. It was like, oh, what? Track two is Blackbird. So, whew.
Yes, indeed it is. Yes, we have not discussed this, and I saw on our Twitter, which I only use for this podcast. Please follow us on there and other social media. Links are in the description. But I saw there would be a Beatles sample on the album, and I thought, wait a minute, why would there be a Beatles sample on a Beyonce country album? And then she posted like the poster track list that said Black Bird with Two Eyes. I thought, oh, is this going to be I thought like it's just going to sample Blackbird. It'll be a reimagining. I didn't know it would be a straight cover, but it is. It actually, I believe, uses the original backing track of 1968 Blackbird.
If they don't, then Paul can still play it to a T. This is where I tried to figure it out because he's on there and he's credited as playing, but I'm talking down to the tap of the acoustic guitar. It is perfect. I've gone back and forth. It's perfectly spot on.
No, I'm pretty sure it's the same thing because well, I'll discuss McCartney's opinion of the song in a moment, but I was based on what he said, I'm not under the impression they met to collaborate on this at all.
Wow. Okay.
But she sings this with four other women, Brittany Spencer, Raina Roberts, Tanner Adele, and Tiara Kennedy, all of whom are Black female country singers. And I'd never heard of them. Apparently, Tanner Adele has gotten quite a bit of traction on TikTok, which, again, that's an example of how a Black female country artist in particular has to go outside of that traditional Nashville scene to get recognition. Like, and not even just Black female country artists, quite a few artists in general have had to go outside the confines to make a name for themselves. And good on her for doing that. But yeah, it's a straight cover. There's no need to change it. I think it's beautifully done. I think Beyonce herself sings the song appropriately and with proper restraint because we know her for her runs, but that's not necessary on a song like this. But she doesn't do it on this song, and thank goodness. But I think everybody on this sounds beautiful, and I mean, I'm glad they used that original backing track because that's perfect as it is.
Yeah. I want to hear what Paul said before I tell you what I'm saying. Not that it will change it, but I'm curious now that you've stoked my curiosity.
So he posted this literally today, the day we're recording. That he loves this version of the song, but he mentioned meeting with her over Zoom and thanking her for doing the song.
Okay, phew, that's cool. I'm down. I mean, I'm down with that. I definitely thought he played this, and I was like, no, Sir Paul, that's wild that you can exactly recreate this. That aside, perfect homage to this song. Really well done cover. Um, I think it's a great song narratively to come away from this requiem and have this blackbird flying into this act two of the Renaissance. I think it makes a really neat statement there. That song for me has always been about growth and overcoming and take broken wings and sunken eyes and figure out how to make it happen. And I like that. And I think that it's so fitting here because of that narrative. I hope, but I do believe that it was there on purpose and chosen for that exact reason.
Well, yes, it is. And in his post today, Paul also said he did write this song based on the civil rights movement.
Wow. Okay.
So, which I actually didn't know. I thought I did, but I didn't. And so that again exemplifies that she's making a big statement and point here, knowing that. But fortunately, this is a good enough cover on its own that I don't have to think about that too much. The song speaks for itself, and that's what I needed to do. And I mean, it's a classic song. It's Blackbird. Come on.
Yeah, but using a classic that relates to subconscious listener automatically and knowing I didn't know the civil rights thing, but doing your homework and making an educated point like that speaks to the genius of her, but speaks to the genius of a true artist doing a protest or doing a making a statement. I really enjoy that. Oh wow.
Yeah.
Kudos. Not only perfectly placed, but a beautiful, not so much tongue in cheek, but just educated.
Yeah, educated. Not it's
Ah,
completely sincere, not tongue in cheek. So
that is beautiful.
but we're gonna keep going with this with these ballads, but with a bit more of a grandiose one. With 16 Carriages. This was one of two pre-release singles um from the album, but this was definitely overshadowed by the other one because it was not sent to radio. And this has been described as an autobiographical ballad. I don't think it's completely autobiographical because Beyonce grew up pretty well off. So I think she's in storyteller mode here, but that really doesn't bother me completely. I think I know she's not the most traditional singer songwriter. I don't expect complete autobiography from her, but the point of this song is she's made these sacrifices. She's been working hard for a long time, and she's working to provide for her family. This one, it's always described as a country. I feel like it's almost more of a rock song. It really has that sound to it. And that I'm enjoying it more. Honestly, when I first heard it pre-release, I was kind of like, "Oh, it's okay." I didn't think a ton of it. The I was thinking more of the lead single, the other lead single, because there was so much discussion about it. But we will we will get there. But I really am enjoying this song for what it is, and it's her best vocal performance here so far.
Yeah, I love it. I think it's really neat for her to stick inside the ballad here, but now we get this struggle again and we get to see it. I love the way this composition works slow in its crescendoing. It really has a way about it. It walks before it runs musically, and then that mirrors the narrative here for me. I love it. You got Robert Randolph, my man, up on this track, and it sounds great. I'm surprised. Actually, I won't say surprised. I am curious of why they did co-lead singles here, and I have my conspiracies, but this is definitely worth standing on its own. There was criticism out there that the co-singles were because they couldn't stand on their own. I have to disagree. It was a beautiful song.
Yeah. And I think that's been disproven commercially by the success of
Heard.
the other lead single and the discussion of it. But before we get there, we have Protector as our fourth song, which features spoken word from her daughter, Rumi. And I think this is the most personal song on the album because this is Beyonce as mom, and I will be your protector. And you can really tell this is a sincere, from the heart song, and it really clicks for me. It's another one that I just really enjoy. And again, the flow of this album, all of these songs make perfect sense together so far.
Yeah. Yeah, coming off the last one and seeing her childhood and then having her child speak at the start of this and going into the lullaby, for me, of what it means to be a parent, the joys of watching life grow from you and in turn really giving you more meaning in the process. She really sincerely brings it from the heart here. You can tell I'm 100% with you as far as like most deep dive into her personally here. The guitar is beautiful and it makes sense. We're back in this pacing. Also, inside of the concept, and we're looking at an Americana or a country album. We really see that in the old school country stuff, the classic country, where these are serious introspectives of the narrator and more often than not of the singer-songwriter themselves. And it shines because of that. It shines more because of that, in my opinion.
Most definitely. And we follow that lovely song with My Rose, which is less than a minute long. So a very short song. It's one of a series of under 2 minute tracks on this album that are right by actual interludes. And a spoiler alert, I don't think any of these songs, including this one, really add a ton to the album. They're just too short to really make a major impression, in my opinion. And this is one of those songs.
Yeah, I love the line of so many roses, but none to be picked without thorns. We get this little shout, this little, I won't say incomplete thought, but this little tiny thought of struggle. It doesn't let us stray away from the narrative. It doesn't necessarily, it's not necessarily iconic or anything super there, but it doesn't make me say, "What the heck is this there for?"
Yeah.
It feels correctly placed.
Yeah, I don't think that they like must be skipped or anything. I just don't think they add a ton. At least this one. We'll get to the other too, of course. But Yes, this is literally right before an interlude with the first actual one, which is Smoke Hour Willie Nelson, which features Willie Nelson introducing us to a radio show along with some song samples. And this is so genius because it's actually done like an actual radio spot ad with an announcer and all these songs. So that really adds to the atmosphere of this album. And of course, Willie's a living country legend, still touring and recording at 90 years old. So um another big cosign for Beyonce to have on this album. And you can't be mad to have him here. It makes sense for a country album to have the really the last of the main outlaw country singers that's surviving. It makes perfect sense to have him here.
It does. It's neat to hear his voice. It puts you right in the it puts you right in for this. It puts you right along for the ride. I'm a sucker. Maybe I'm a child of the radio. I'm a radio lover regardless. I'm a sucker for when albums do this. Look back to like Snoop Dogg's Doggy Style or like Reservoir Dogs soundtrack, and you get these really neat radio snippets that just make it feel natural, make it feel like that you're tuning through the radio. I love this. And of all the narrators, good old Willie, you know, he said, what is it? Channel KNTRY.
Yeah.
You know my name, but I don't need to know your name. It's good old Willie Nelson getting you right in the moment. I love it.
Yes, and he gets us right into the moment for track 7, Texas Hold'em, the other lead single, and possibly, I would say, the most discussed song of the year. And honestly, the most polarizing. So, of course, I can't wait to discuss the song. It's got a kind of like boot skew line dance kind of feel to it for a song. Uh, and it's just a metaphor for kind of letting go. Like, this ain't Texas, ain't no hold'em, so lay your cards down, down, down. I really liked this song when I first heard it. I thought, like, okay, it's got a bit of this country kind of dance feel to it. Uh, but it still felt like a Beyonce song to me. So I enjoyed it. Um, Not everybody does. There are people very loudly online who complain about this song coming on the radio. They say they hate it. And it's gotten comparisons. People have noticed similarities between this song and the theme song to the children's TV show Franklin, which was about a turtle.
Hmm.
It sounds kind of similar, but the composer said there's a similar rhythmic feel, but it's Beyonce's song. But I just think it's all funny, honestly.
Yeah, I went no spoilers, so I didn't listen to the singles. I kept out of the media. I actually had to work hard not to listen to Texas Hold'em. Like it was popping up everywhere. I to I'll just give them a little brief moment of my energy to the haters that are saying it doesn't belong on the country radio. They're the same people that I said shame on us as a people that were talking about, what happened at the CMAs. Like, get out of town, you know. Uh, is it is it on this one that Willie says if you don't like it, go get a jukebox? It might be on the next one, but it's perfect. Well, and this was recorded before everybody had any controversy. But he's like, if you don't like it, go get a jukebox. That's how I feel here on this one. Now, talking about this song again, no spoilers, came right into it. I like it, man. It's a great song. It gets down. The heartbeat bass drum does its job. Inside this concept, it sings. There's beautiful imagery of the down south, Texas Hold'em. Like all of the country imagery is here. The banjo and the viola from Rhiannon Giddens is super fire. It sings, man. It works. It's single. It's definitely a single for me on this album, and I like it because we came off the Willie thing. So not only is it the radio single, but it feels organic here because we came off of the Willie switch around the radio and end up on the Willie Smoke Hour. I love it. But standalone, it's fire. It's a good one, man. I dig it.
Yeah, I no, it was fun for me to hear it in the context of the album, especially since it's been standalone and so many people have had opinions on it. I am not gonna lie, there is one Texas Hold'em hate meme that makes me laugh. It's um it's of the scene in It's a Wonderful Life when Mary breaks a record, and the meme has Texas Hold'em playing over that scene and her breaking the record for Texas Hold'em.
It's so wild to think that people get so bent out of shape
Yeah.
over who's in what genre. Just as a musician or a lover of art, as we are, it's crazy, man. Shame on us. Shame on us is
Yeah.
what I've come out of on
I
the mindset of people.
I know,
Ugh,
but some of her fans haven't liked it either. I've seen some people say, "Oh, I like her, but this isn't it." But it is different for her, so I can see that as well.
it's definitely different, and I'm totally down. I mean, that's the reason we do this podcast, is to explore the different opinions of songs. But if you're hating on a song for being in the wrong place, where in your ears, get out of here, get out of here on that
Yeah,
nonsense. You can
but
like it or not like it based on its musical merit, but don't come with some, oh, I ain't listening to it. Get out of here.
yeah, but plenty of people are listening to it. It's not just the country hit. It's gotten play on the top 40 stations as well. It's topped the charts already. It'll probably be back at the top of the charts once the next Hot 100 comes out. Based on once all the streams are added up, and I'm sure the radio plays increase for it because the next single has not been announced yet. So
Oof. Hot tea take. Is country radio the last segregated piece of America? I don't expect you to answer that in full
that's
right
a
now,
loaded question.
but just a wild thought that popped in my head. Like, that's
That
craziness, man.
it in popular culture, at least in terms of music, it seems to be the most segregated place.
It's wild.
Um, but yeah, yeah, it is wild to me, and it's even hard just it's not just hard to be a black artist on country radio, or especially it's hard to be a female artist on country radio these days.
Maybe I'm just being naive about it, but it really is messing my brain up.
I mean, it's sad. I do think it's sad. I mean, think about this past year, Tracy Chapman became the first woman to have written a number one country hit, and it was because Luke Combs covered her song.
Yeah.
Just let that speak for itself. But fortunately, Beyonce has added another one to that list with Texas Hold'em, and she might add some more and lead to more people doing it. Because other Black country artists, some of whom are featured on this album, have seen pretty big upticks in their streams because of in association with Cowboy Carter.
Hmm.
But enough of that. We are going to move on to the next song, which doesn't feature any of these artists. This is Bodyguard, which is a love song on the album, sexiest song on the album so far. It was produced by Raphael Sadiq, and this does feel a bit more soul than country to me. I don't think this is much of a country song at all. I think it's very much more soul, but I still think it's a good song, and I think she's in her element here. She does this style well. I really like that we're hearing the kind of different side of her vocals here with the like, oh honey, honey. It's and it works well after Texas Hold'em too, I think.
I, this song is okay. For me, and spoiler alert. This is the only song on the album that I feel like isn't in place. It is the only one that is just a little bit too much out of the concept, and it doesn't hit right for me. The song's cool. I dig it, and she does. She sounds awesome. I like the, going through her voice in a different way, but it's almost not almost. In my opinion, this one is too much pop out of nowhere inside of this playlist, inside of this album that throws me just a tad.
Yeah. Oh, imagine if this were the single. People would be pissed.
It wouldn't make sense. You know what I'm saying? Like that's a great way to put it though. Like if this came out as the single, you'd be like, sounds like a normal pop album to me. What are you talking about? In my opinion. Um, but still, it's not a bad song. Don't get me wrong. It's just this one for me is like the only tiny, tiny, tiny little hit on this album.
Yeah, I can see what you're saying in terms of it not fitting on here a bit. But that isn't we're not we're going right back to country either way with our next interlude. Dolly P. Spoken word from Dolly Parton mentioning that hussy with the good hair. Uh, but of course, she had to mention the lady with flaming locks of auburn hair. They're both women wronged. And that leads us into the cover of the legendary Jolene by Dolly Parton. Dolly was spoiling this cover the whole time. She kept saying she's been saying for a few years, I really want Beyonce to do Jolene. And she even said, I think she did it for her country album. And I thought, oh, that's interesting. I wasn't 100% sold on it because she's just not somebody I could imagine singing Jolene. However, there are significant lyrical changes to this one. Most significantly, not I'm begging you, don't take my man. I'm warning you, don't take my man. This is definitely the most discussed song on the album. Unsurprisingly, any reinterpretation of a classic song is sure to stir up discussion, and people are loving it or hating it. I think it was a big risk, and I think she pulled it off. I think she made the song her own, but it still has the melody, and it's still, I mean, it's Jolene. Everybody knows the song. It's a perfect song as it is, and Beyonce does her thing with it, and it fits her brand well. Like, it's not Jolene, you're beautiful. This is her still singing about Becky with the good hair.
Last week when we went off air, I said to Charlie, like, what are we in for? You know, we've been talking about this album for quite a bit, or the anticipation for this album, but track list wasn't out yet. And Charlie says, I'm pretty sure she does a cover of Jolene. And I had to take a step back because I was with you on the fact that, whoa, Beyonce, that is a huge undertaking and a huge risk. And I can't picture you. I love your voice, but I can't picture you hitting Jolene correctly. Well, she did it. I'm right with you. She killed the game on this. She branded it inside of herself. She changed the lyrics to fit, but without doing any damage to the song. It is new age Jolene. If it came out without a Jolene, it would be groundbreaking, in my opinion, because it speaks so earnestly and so truly. It paid a perfect homage to Jolene. It did well. You almost can't even call, I guess you can call it a cover, but this is a really cool way to cover. This is a reinterpretation. It's so well done. I implore anyone to listen to this because even without Dolly P happening right before it, and you know, Dolly coming in saying, you know, talking about Becky with the hair, and then this one had auburn locks, I think it still stands, but it really stands because Dolly Parton put a mark on it for me and said, literally on the album, here we go, guys, check this out. It murders as far as staying inside of the Beyonce. Jolene, I know I'm a queen, Jolene. Like, but shit,
Yeah.
I'm really surprised that I loved it so much. It oh man, she killed it. She took a risk. You're right, and she came out on the other side on top of the
Yeah.
game, as she usually does.
And it's hilarious to see people hating on this cover to me when Dolly herself co-signed it too.
I haven't read the hate, but I can imagine the hate is that she changed all the lyrics and she should have just done it straight.
That's I think some of them are just people angry Beyonce's doing country to begin with.
Oh man.
But
But that is well, we said it a bunch. I'll say it one more time. That is exactly what this statement piece, what this concept is doing. It's bringing us a renaissance. Maybe not. Maybe it's a renaissance of thought. Look how much we're talking about this. Hopefully, to the a good end of where this craziness stops, man.
I know.
I've thought about it so much. It's such a poignant piece.
Confrontational Queen Beyonce is going to continue a bit on the next song, which is Daughter. And in this one, this is a really interesting song considering Beyonce's biography. And here she says, like, I'm usually like, I'm just me, but if you come for me, I am just like my father, Titanic water. I don't play around. And we heard that on the previous song that she doesn't play around. And this is interesting. It's a cool song on its own, especially with its opera midsection of Caro Mia Ben, which she does beautifully. But Matthew Knowles is is a somewhat infamous figure in certain circles. He managed his daughter back when she was in Destiny's Child and pissed off quite a few people while doing that, including other group members at times. He seemed out to get them, and Beyonce herself left his management in 2011. And she touched on their relationship a bit in Daddy Lessons. And it also seems like her parents had a pretty turbulent marriage. So there's layers to this relationship for Beyonce. And especially since there is public knowledge of who Matthew Knowles is and how he's a shark. So, really interesting to hear her take that on and again just be more real. I really like that she's just allowing herself to show some vulnerability in her music, which hasn't always been the case, but we've started to see it more and more. And this song is a prime example of that. Definitely a highlight of this album for me.
Yeah, it's beautiful. This is a cinematic cowboy song. Musically, the finger picking masterclass behind this is insane. But what she does with this song is mind blowing. With the Caramillo Ben piece in the middle, she really again lets us inside. Like you said, this we're almost at the halfway point if we go numerically, but this is right around the middle of the album, and it's so perfectly positioned. So much feeling here. It just feels again natural, and it's pacing because we're going on this dramatic narrative crescendo.
Most definitely. And how do we follow that up, though? Because this was a bit of a left turn in some ways. Well, we switch gears up a bit with Spaghetti, with two eyes once again, but not before this song begins with a spoken word intro from Linda Martell, somebody I'd never heard of before this album. And for those who don't know, Linda Martell was the first Black female country artist to experience commercial success and perform at the Grand Ole Opry. So, really important figure in country music history, even if not everybody knows who she is. And she only released one album in 1970, and she left Nashville in 1974. She didn't stop performing, but she did end up like working in public. She did end up working in public schools later on, which, I mean, good on her for doing that. But it does go to show, like, she didn't maybe get all the opportunities that she should have. She likely did have doors slammed in her face. But Beyonce chose to have the 82-year-old Linda Martell do a couple spoken word appearances on this album. And I like hers here to say, like, genres are a funny little concept, aren't they? Yes, they are. And she almost sounds like a teacher doing it. You can kind of tell that. And then we go into the most hip hop song on the album so far, Spaghetti, which features Shabuzi, who seems to be a country rapper, is what I'm gathering from it. I mean, Swizz Beats is producing it. I don't think this is really a country song. I'll say that right now, but I do think it's a cool song, and I do like the historic nod on it. I think that's a really important one, and I'm glad that we're giving this this music pioneer some flowers that are long overdue.
Yeah, I love that we started with this Linda Martell quote because it really, for me, is another educated hit inside of this, an educated poke saying, "Oh, genres, they're a son of a gun, huh? Here we go, boom!" And then we come out with a Swiss Beats beat, like we come out with Shabuzi, and Beyonce kills it on this. I mean,
Oh
hardcore kills
yeah.
it. We're going, on her queen shit from Renaissance One, but regardless, like
Yes.
she is on it, and the song is great. I think it fits really nice after this heart-wrenching narrative that we've been inside, and then we get a little quick smack in the face here. We get a little bit of a country or yeah, a country western kind of sample inside of the loop in the beginning here. I like Shabuzi's stuff here, but I must say, after Beyonce kills it and he does like this, it's very, it's not that the rap is mediocre. It's over this soft part of the song, and I thought it was a bridge, but in fact, the song never comes back to the high energy that we started with. So my only beef with this song is that it leaves me almost unfulfilled when I was rocking out so much at the start of it. And I've listened to it a bunch, and musically, it just doesn't make as much sense as I wanted to there. I'm not sure why it went a decrescendo way when I feel like that could have been an easy bridge, and then or easy verse two, and then back into Beyonce. That's me nitpicking. It's cool, man. It's Swiss Beats brings it here. It's really upbeat. I dig it. I definitely dig it.
Yes, and we've got another kiss off song, but in a bit more of the country vein with Alligator Tears. Like, yeah, she's basically calling you out for your fake tears here. She doesn't want that, but it's played like a straight country song, and honestly, I like the idea of it. I think this is kind of a bland song musically. I feel like it just isn't, it's not as dynamic as the other songs here. It doesn't really move or interest me. It's my least favorite so far.
Wow. I dig this one because it speaks to me. And when you said you like the idea, I really like the way this speaks to an old school country mentality, even in the title with the alligator tears. She does almost a mimicry of the sad songs that you hear in classic country, and I dig that. I think it really speaks to the roots of the country song itself. Hot tea take, especially since it's your least favorite. I think this is the single you give the world and say, "Here you go. Here's a classic country song Beyonce's doing," and just get them interested. Maybe I'm taking it too far, but that's my hot tea take on this one.
This is not a single. There are, yeah, there's the singles are coming up, folks. I'm just going to tell you that right now. The real singles are coming up. We are not done with this album. No, 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 not even close. But next we've got at this literal midway point, numbers wise, we get another Willie Nelson interlude. So again, more Willie. Very happy to have him here. Yeah, that's really all
Yeah,
there
I
is
mean,
to say about that. If
he
you don't
drops a
like it,
yeah,
go ahead.
you get a jukebox. He drops a truth bomb on this one, though. He's like, sometimes you don't know what you like until someone turns you on to some real good shit. And that's why Willie's on this album, man. I love it. I love
And
it.
I think that philosophy is may very well have been what has started Willie Nelson's lifelong love affair with marijuana.
Maybe so. I didn't even think about it like that.
I mean,
Maybe so.
it's Willie. Come on.
And that's a beautiful mantra for life, period. So somebody turns you on to some real good shit. Oh, good old Willie.
Oh, yes. But we have another Willie on our next song, which is Just for Fun. This is a duet with Willie Jones, who was a contestant on the American X Factor in 2012. He made it to, he was eliminated in the first week of the live show. So much better than many who auditioned, but not as far as you might expect for someone who's now on a Beyonce album. But who's winning then? Because the people who got a far ahead of him are not on here, including any of the girls in Fifth Harmony. None of them have done a song with Beyonce on their album, so Willie is winning now as a black country artist on his own. Um, and he's got a strong voice. I really like his voice a lot, and I'm glad that Beyonce gave him this showcase. And I just have to say I really respect the fact that yes, this is a statement album, but Beyonce didn't just make it her statement. She made sure to include other voices as a part of this. And it creates more of a mosaic this Cowboy Carter. It's much more collaborative than Renaissance was, but it needs to be because it fits the mission of the album. And I think this is a very nice, vulnerable ballad. I do think it's elevated by being a duet. It's the kind of song that needed that kind of extra push a bit, but I think it works very nicely here.
Yeah, me too. I didn't first listen through, I didn't even realize that it was a duet until he came in, and I was very happy with it. Gospel roots inside of this country feel. I dig that. This starts a trio of duets here, and I think it's a perfect start point for the bookend of this trio. I think it's a really well done, placed correctly as far as not only where the duets are, but as far as on the album. And Willie, you said it. Willie Jones is killing it on this. He sounds great, and they sound great together. It's never an overpowering. Sometimes we get into these duets where one overtakes the other. It's handled with care, and I thought I was going to be beating it into the ground, or maybe taking away from the movement that she's doing with all these artists on this album, but I'm 100% with you. I mean, there she populated this with a bevy of artists, black or white. But if we're talking about the movement and what she's going towards with this, with her mission statement, there's a lot of black country artists on here that are getting play, and it's just great to see it.
Yes, but spoiler alert, the next two duets are not with black country artists.
True that.
But that doesn't mean that they don't belong here. So, because as I said, this is a mosaic. There's room for a bit of everything on Cowboy Carter. And track 16 is once I heard this was going to be a duet, this was my most anticipated track off of the album. It's Two Most Wanted, a duet with Miley Cyrus. Yeah, that alone, it's like, okay, that's awesome to know because we like us some Miley here on Turntables and Tea.
Oh
So
yeah.
yeah, so it also features Foxygen's Jonathan Rado on acoustic guitar and keyboards, and we get electric guitar from Adam Gandusil of the War on Drugs. I hope I pronounced his name correctly. I've heard of the band, but I'm not familiar with their music. But this song is the one that the movie parallel has been made to Thelma and Louise because Miley and Beyonce are ride or dies on
I
this
like
track,
it.
which we love to hear. And they're two very different kinds of singers, but they pair together beautifully. Like they have a great interplay. I definitely believe they've recorded this together. They sound completely connected with each other. And it sounds like this might have been the last song recorded for the album. It's been going around that Beyonce asked Smiley to collaborate with her right after the Grammys this year, which I'm really glad they did. This is definitely a highlight for me. And I mean, they're both in their element here. Beyonce's shown us her country element, and Miley also has the country in her bones. We all know that. Actually, there are people who've wondered, why is Miley Cyrus on a country album? I thought, oh my goodness, what have you been under a rock? Miley's
She
a jack of all trades.
she's a Cyrus, for Christ's sake.
Yes, she's a Cyrus, but she has proven herself to do it all. And just what a beautiful example of how she's been in this conversation for a long time. Because I think we all know Hannah Montana wouldn't have done this song, but Miley Cyrus today does do this song, and she does it beautifully. And this is a bit more of a confusion that I'm getting with the samples here because it's been said again and again that this interpolates Landslide because of the chord progression, but Stevie Nicks does not have a writing credit yet. Stephen Stills did on American Requiem, but for what it's worth, was not listed as a sample. So that's part of my confusion here. Either way, this is one of my favorites on the album. I absolutely love it. And this would be a very smart single choice.
Yeah, I was with you there. I thought the only reason they didn't put this out as a single is because they didn't want to make it like Miley Cyrus had to be on it for it to be country. That aside, I love this song. I love this song as just a song. You know what I'm saying? Not that it has two of Turntables and Tea's most wanted on it. Like this is two beautiful voices killing it, and it's written so beautifully country. I mean, Shotgun Ride or Die. Ah, it's so good. It is immensely, immensely beautiful in the way it's done with them together. I'm wholeheartedly behind you. They are in the same room, sharing drinks, relaxing, and getting it done. This one feels country. I'm hand to the man. I had to go and search if this was a cover because it was so gosh darn country and so good. I had to figure out if this was a Beyonce original, and I'm so happy it is because this is really I'll say the epitome of the album. This is what this album is. Miley, thank you for contributing here, but like this is what I was looking for. I love it. I love this song
Yeah.
so much.
I mean, it might just be a single, frankly, because of the positive reception, because I haven't heard anybody bash this song, as they shouldn't. They
I think it
absolutely should.
crushes Texas Hold'em.
Oh, I
And I
mean,
like Texas Hold'em, but
yeah,
I think this crushes it.
I agree with that. This song leaves a lot of songs in the dust.
I laughed out loud listening to this song the first time. I mean, it was good.
Oh yeah, it is indeed. It is that good. If you're gonna, you gotta listen to Two Most Wanted. You gotta do it. But we've got our next superstar duet with track 17, Levi's Jeans. Again, Levi's with two eyes. um, this is a sexy duet with Post Malone, another pairing that sounds kind of no, actually, it does sound a bit weird on paper. Two very different singers. Even though I knew Miley's a different singer, I'm like, no, I'm hyped for that. I think they're gonna work it out and kill it. This I wasn't quite as sure about, but I think it works, and their voices actually kind of seamlessly go together. I had to take a step out, like, oh, they switched it to Post Malone. It's seamless. That's perfect. I mean, I think this is a they have an interesting chemistry on this song. I actually think it works, and I didn't think it would. I wasn't sure about that, but yeah, they pull it off. I don't like it as much as Two Most Wanted, but I do think that it's a nice, sexy, fun little tune.
Yeah, I'm with you. My man Post Malone out of nowhere, blowing my mind. I'm right with you. He fit on this track so perfectly. Such a well done track. I'll be honest, at this first listen through, at the start of this song, I thought it was going to be too soft, but it's a beautiful song with just enough sexiness without being crass to get its point across. It ends up this cool little love song, and Post kills it, man. He steps up to the plate. Good for you, my man Posty. This one was cool. I love this little trio. I love this little piece of the album just put together. You know, these could have been far away from each other on the album and maybe had this same impact, but this little celebrity, almost like a Grand Old Opry style presentation here of these stars, I love it.
Yeah, and speaking of the sexiness, I do think it's important to point out that it's not crass, and no disrespect to Beyonce, but we saw on Renaissance and at other times in Beyonce's career, she doesn't always hold back when it comes to the sexual lyrics. And that doesn't, for me, take away from the songs, but I do give her a lot of credit for doing something without being quite as explicit as something like Virgo's Groove, as much as I love that song. But we knew what you were talking about when you said motorboat, Beyonce. That's all I've got to say there. But yeah, it's sensual in a so it works well for what we're doing here. But now we are on to 18, which is flamenco, another one of these short free interlude tracks. Under 2 minutes. It's got a Latin feel to it, which is cool. And I guess flamenco is kind of like a in some ways you could call it Mexican country, according to some. Like the Mexican country concert we were in the parking garage for that one night.
Yeah, I heard.
But yeah, again, I mean, I like the Latin feel of it. I do enjoy that. Um, definitely though, after all the killer duets, it really can't stand out. I don't see how an actual song really can. And it would have just made more sense to go right to the interlude. If we were going to use this, it shouldn't have been after Miley and Posty. That's for sure.
Yeah, it doesn't take me out, so to speak,
No.
but it's just this little aperitif. Like, could it be not there and I wouldn't notice? Yes. So I'm not mad at it, but it's not as poignant as the first one was. It's just sort of like a little wild thought here. That's literally what's in my notes. Cool little beautiful thought. And then on to the interlude.
Yeah. Well, part of the reason I may not have been as crazy about because I this is a great interlude. This might be my favorite. Even above Dolly P, which is an accomplishment. This is the Linda Martell show. And this is where we have Linda coming back to say, this next track incorporates a variety of genres and it will give you a unique listening experience in her best school teacher voice from Miss Linda. And I'm here for it. It again just adds to this Opry radio show vibe, and I'm loving it.
Yeah, man. Yep. I mean, she sets you up here like Dolly set you up before Jolene. Like Willie set us up twice, but this one really lets you know, like, we're going to have fun across all genres. For me, this is the start of the real Beyonce. Yes, the start of the real Beyonce renaissance of this act two. This is where the paradigm of thought switches, and we go into. I'll touch on a little more as we go in through it, but we go into the gapless tracks that we got on Renaissance One, and we really step into a new realm right here.
That we do. And this new realm begins with Yaya, which samples Nancy Sinatra's These Boots Are Made for Walking. And we get an interpolation of good vibrations that's impossible to miss, unlike the
Yeah.
supposed landslide interpolation. It's right in the lyrics, but Nancy Sinatra was honored by this sample, actually. But unsurprisingly, because I love this song, it's so much fun. In spirit, it reminds me a lot of Lady Gaga's Ayo, which is also another really fun kind of hoedown song. But this song does incorporate a variety of genres, but it comes together so nicely that I absolutely think this is a single worthy track. 100%.
Hell yeah. 110%. I mean, this is that joint. You can't, it's such a powerful and inside of our blood as listeners in America, but you can't beat the way that boots are made for walk and feel goes. Just that bass line, like doom 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 doom. It's perfect here, man. This track is on fire, and this track makes me feel like that rodeo sense, and I dig that. I dig that. That's why I say we're in this new realm because we're getting some more hardcore Beyonce than we have through this album. And that's a good thing. And I think it's paced correctly. I think this is great where we start to sink our teeth into what she is truly bringing us to as an artist on this album.
Most definitely. And that fun experience is followed by another interlude, which is Oh Louisiana, which is a bit of a reworking of the Chuck Berry song of the same name. Not a country artist, but definitely a music pioneer. So it's nice to have him here as well. And I think it's a fun little interlude.
Yeah, neat one. Little auto tune on the old Chuck Berry or whoever's doing it. It's cool. It's another one of these neat little thoughts, and it fits. It's just enough little musical aperitif to not have any jarring song to songs.
Yeah, because we are really switching it up, beginning with Desert Eagle, which is another, it's kind of the last of these surrounded by interludes under 2 minute songs. I'll say this is my favorite of those tracks. I think it's just again a nice little thought, but a lot of it is because of how it goes into the next song for me. It's a very complete package.
Yeah, this almost could have been one track with like a little hyphenated title for me, but I like that. Again, we're sticking with the gapless track, which is huge, especially in the concept of this renaissance after what we got on album one. This is sick, man. I love this. This is almost a little bit too short for me. If it didn't go into the next song, I would be pissed in that manner because I dig it so much. You get that funky bass, and it really rolls through. And it's a really fun minute and 12. I'll tell you that going
Yeah.
into the next song.
Yes, and that song is River Dance with Two Eyes. This is a country house song. And as crazy as that sounds, of course, Beyonce did that perfectly. I absolutely love this song. This is very much a Renaissance song with some twang to it. And she's again just commanding the dance floor, like, bounce to that shit dance. Like, yes, Beyonce, we will dance. And but then also just run it through the river. This is Beyonce to me. I absolutely love this song.
Yeah, and we're on full mode at this point. Like she's for me, she's hitting concept. I know I keep saying, but she's hitting concept so hard right now and so beautiful. My original notes for this are holy shit, this loop, because it starts off with a straight finger picking that makes itself into a true house loop and it crushes. And then on top of that, I say this concept so hard right now because we still get this quote unquote true country song here inside of the fact that we hear a love story going wrong inside of this house jam. And it gets down, man. It gets down. We are the locomotive is rolling at this point, and it doesn't seem like it's stopping.
No, it's not. We are going to keep going with our dance party with Two Hands to Heaven. This song samples Born Slippy Nux by Underworld, who are a British electronic music group. This song is from 1995, and it was released as a single after being featured in the movie Trainspotting. So, yeah, we're in full house mode. We are in full house mode here again. Uh, I mean, her vocals here have been compared to Crystal Waters,
Yep.
so she's really going in all for it. Honestly, this really isn't much of a country song at all, in my opinion, but I don't care because again, like it so seamlessly goes in Riverdance seamlessly flows into this one, and it's a floor filler for sure. I mean, this feels like a Renaissance song to me, probably more than any of the other songs on the album. I mean, there would have been a bit more flourishes with uh its sound to have fit on Act One, but I really enjoy it. My This is a nitpick. I do think it might overstay its welcome just a bit. I still really enjoy it though, but I think it yeah, it is over 5 minutes. I'm not sure it quite needs to be.
I'm with you on enjoying it. I again, I love it. You know, we're Renaissance vibing here, and that is very prominent. Um, I love how this beautiful composition balances itself with the dance element. On the length, I think without slowing down and keeping the track interesting, it would have. It was on the verge for me. So I can see where you're coming from, but it was on the verge for me of being around a little bit too long. It does have a outro, so to speak, that changes up just enough where I don't have a beef with it, but the thought was there. This is just straight killing it.
Yes, and we're gonna do some more of that, but this time with our friend Dolly P providing a spoken word intro to Tyrant, which there's some fiddles in there, but this is a trap song. This is we're in the trap house for this one, and I'm here for it. This is Beyonce in her element. She's done this before, and she's doing it again, and I love that it is a Beyonce album because she makes the country her own. She puts these elements of it into the kind of songs that we expect from her, I think, in this last part of the album.
Yep.
So it makes it a unique experience. Again, I really appreciate that. I don't know if there's any other country trap songs out there, but I really enjoy this one quite a bit.
Yeah, man. Dolly coming off the gapless and talking onto this trap jam. I love this beat. I love the way it's handled. I think my only beef, and maybe it was just me, wishing I was waiting for Dolly to come into this song at some point, and I was just praying that she would do some wild upbeat stuff in here. I'm not mad that she didn't. It was just me wishing throughout it. It's a neat track, man. It's so cool. We are listening to Beyonce's take on what she is making country for her, and I dig it, man. I really do.
Yeah, it would have been neat to hear the legends who do the spoken word bits sing on the album. I'm not gonna lie.
Agreed.
That would have been neat, but maybe they felt it wasn't their place. I'm not sure, but
Heard.
I think it would have been cool. But it's still cool. We're gonna keep it going with our penultimate track, which is Sweet Honey Buckin'. The title alone reminds me of Pure Honey from Renaissance. So,
Heard.
and it's got a lot going on. This is a Jersey Club influenced song featuring it features Shabuzi once again, and it interpolates "I Fall to Pieces" by Patsy Cline. So another big melding of genres here, and it's produced by none other than Pharrell, and of course he's
I
able
didn't
to do it.
I didn't even realize
Yeah.
that.
Yep. It's
Go, of course.
Yeah, this is a Pharrell joint, and it's a bit of a different one. There's a lot going on here for me. I don't think it's quite as straightforward of a listen as the previous three songs that I really enjoyed, but it's one that I want to spend some time with. I do think it's a really cool song, and Yeah, I'm enjoying it. I do have one other thing to say, but I'm gonna let you talk first before I mention that.
Well, I want you to spend some more time with this one because this, for me, as a penultimate, is the jam piece. I don't care what they say, New Jersey club, my booty. This is Patsy Cline and a Baltimore club beat, and it murders, man. It get at it, it murders. It is on top. I'm jamming. It gets extra points because it speaks to my love of the Baltimore club music scene. But this is that jam, especially right here before the end. This is Beyonce, man. I really can't say anything else. Like it is pure on top of it. Patsy Cline with a Baltimore club beat. I mean, come on.
Yeah, it's awesome, but my only real criticism here, why did she have to mention that she didn't win album of the year? I know it's been discussed a lot. I don't think it needed to be mentioned. And
Oh,
yeah,
I didn't even
AOTY
realize
I
it.
didn't win.
Oh no.
I
Well, I got to go back and check that, but uh,
I mean,
yeah,
Jay-Z already had to make a point about it at the Grammys, and no one asked him to.
Aaron.
Whether I agree or not, no one asked him to. And just stop making music about these awards that at the end of the day really don't hold that much merit. And uh, I just wish
Yeah,
it wasn't so transparent that she wants to win album of the year.
yeah. I
I
mean,
don't I
not
don't
that,
like
yeah,
that.
not to take anything away, but
No,
a
it's
sore
still
loser is a sore loser. Come on, don't do that.
yeah, she
Don't
sounds
do
like
that.
a sore loser.
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah,
Sorry,
no,
not
but
sorry. She does.
Aaron.
No,
I didn't even realize she said that in there, but
yeah,
yeah, don't do that. Don't do that.
no.
Don't. Oh, no, yeah, I just read it. But that's all right. Don't do it. Don't do that. But that's okay because that didn't take me away from the track. But just because I didn't hear it now, I'll probably hear it all the time. But that's all right. Patsy Cline, Baltimore Club.
It's still awesome. Yes,
Yeah,
we still like that. And it's okay. Patsy didn't win album of the year, so
there you
yeah,
go. Maybe it was about Patsy.
maybe who knows? Uh,
Silver
yeah.
lining playbook there.
Well, in that case, it might just be wishful thinking. But
I heard that.
but now, oh, we're at the end of this wild ride with Amen. This is the closing track, and I think this feels like a bit more of an outro than an actual song. But it's a really pretty outro, and I think it kind of sums everything up well. And what I need to do now is people are saying that this actually goes seamlessly into Renaissance. Like this song goes right into
Ooh.
I'm That Girl, people are saying it fits perfectly. So
Ooh.
I need to experience that for sure.
Yeah, man, that's cool. I like that.
Yeah.
I'm with you on the outro piece though. Like, is this a full fledged song? No, but even the fact that it ends on like just sounds going to a beep stop. Um, but it is the way you end this album for me. Gospel and dance. You really let them know. You started with a requiem and end with an amen. I dig that. I think it's a really beautiful. I'm with you. A beautiful way to get out of this album. Um, and it goes straight into the next. I'm very curious to hear that. That's
Yeah.
pretty cool. But yeah, man, good way to end the album.
Yeah. What a ride. I wasn't expecting it to be quite this long, actually, this album. But it
Yeah.
there's a lot to unpack with this one, and all things considered, I want to hear your grade for the album.
Oh man, Beyonce, Cowboy Carter. From start to finish, this album is a pristine example of a fully realized album. It never shies away from itself, and in fact, doubles down on the fact that there is a quote unquote country mentality in its writing and musicality. For me, it not only bridges the generational gap with the inclusion of legends like Willie Nelson, Linda Martell, Paul McCartney, Dolly Parton, but it opens the closed mindedness of the quote unquote genre idea for me with its beautiful melding of all different styles of music in here. Tracks like 16 Carriages, Alligator Tears, and even her own rendition of Jolene call back to the classic country stylings. And I dig that. But we get tracks like Spaghetti, Desert Eagle, and Tyrant that take us into the future of music as a whole. This album deserves nothing less than a huge thank you to Beyonce. And for me, a Cory A plus. This is Hall of Fame stuff right here.
Okay. So I have two grades for the album. I am going to even them out.
Or,
I'm gonna round them. I'm gonna be fair and make it one. So on one hand, in terms of concept, execution, and being a fully realized album start to finish, this is absolutely an A. She didn't miss a beat in terms of that. In terms of all the individual songs, I do think that this album, as well thought out as it is, I don't think some edits would have hurt it at all. Particularly those most of these really short songs. I don't feel that they didn't add to this for me. And there's just some stuff that shines a lot brighter than others here. And in terms of that, I give this album a B. To put it all together, I'm going to give it a B plus.
heard that. Heard that. A
Um,
B plus for the
yeah,
Beyonce.
I feel like my scores for this and Renaissance almost perfectly aligned with Pitchfork's. Because Pitchfork gave this an 8.4 out of 10, and I'm thinking, yes, that's me. And Renaissance was a 9 out of 10. I'm thinking also, yes, me. They
And
they
yeah.
they got me on these two albums.
And for the first time in a couple weeks, I actually agree with Rolling Stones and I go 5 stars on this.
Yeah, and we will see if the Grammys agree, because that's a question on everybody's mind. She didn't see, that's the thing. You didn't have to mention it on your album for people to talk about it, Beyonce. So that's anyway. We
Yeah.
will see February 2025 how this all plays out. So yeah, there we have it. Cowboy Carter. What a ride. What a fun journey we just had.
Yeah, man. What's your favorite track on the album?
Oh, I have two.
Okay.
I have two. So objectively speaking, beautiful. Best song here, epitome of what I want is Two Most Wanted.
Yeah.
Just what a gorgeous song. But in terms of what I'm going to be jamming to for the next few months, that's Riverdance.
Yeah, Two Most Wanted is up there for me. I'm glad you said it like that. Two Most Wanted. I'm just gonna leave it at that. I'm gonna leave it at Two Most Wanted. I think they killed it. There's a lot of beautiful Beyonce on here, and I'm excited for everybody to get down with it. Yaya comes in second for
Oh,
me.
Yaya's great. Great. But there's a lot of greatness here.
There is.
Yeah, for sure. And friends, we have been so inspired by Cowboy Carter and its contents that we wanna the next couple of picks are gonna be influenced by it. And the first of those picks that we are going to do is something that we're unfamiliar with, but we're now curious to explore just because of this album, as are many people. And that is Linda Martell and her Soul Studio album, Color Me Country.
Yeah, man.
So,
Something that's outside of our wheelhouse, but hey.
yeah, but this is our for, we've been doing this close to 2 whole years now. So I think it's a good time to, stretch out a bit, do something new, and we're really excited to do it. So yeah, definitely stay tuned for that. I'm really curious to go country for this, for sure.
Yeah,
And of
man.
course, subscribe wherever you're listening to us. Leave us a nice rating and review. Much appreciated. So you can hear about when we do our Linda Martell episode.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, very exciting stuff. But yes, color us country. And no, let me not say that. That doesn't sound great. Because I think it's Color Me Country because she's black.
Oh, okay.
That's
I
why
didn't.
I'm worried about that. I'm not sure. Let me not say that.
What
Yes,
we got?
but
The first track is "Bad Case of the Blues."
oh, well, actually, you know what? Yes. So, all right. So be sure to be here next week as we continue our Cowboy Carter journey because we're just not done with it yet. And we've got more to do, and we're going to start with the pioneer herself. So take care of yourselves until then.
Peace.